Well, I've just caught this little swarm. I didn't get the video of actually catching it, but I've just brought it home. I've done an alcohol wash where we're compelled to do that now in New South Wales in the blue zone when catching swarms, and we're allowed to relocate them once. So I've picked this up in South Windsor. It's about half an hour from here, and I brought it home to set up in the Long Lang. Now, in a previous video before spring, it was actually on the onset of winter, I populated it with one of the other hives, but it was so small, and as predicted, they didn't survive the winter. During the lockdown period, we weren't allowed to go into the hives at all, which made it very difficult to look after them during that time. They did struggle along for quite a while, but they just didn't quite make it. So this time I'm populating it with this new swarm. It's not a big one, about the size of a large grapefruit. And it was on a leaf way down low, so some of them were on the ground. Most of them I got in my washing basket catching mechanism, and the rest I vacuumed up. So I've just put them on top of the Long Lang. I pulled out these two slats from the top, the covers, and opened it up enough for them to get a whiff of the frames in there. And they've moved down by themselves. I didn't shake them. This approach is the gentle one. Now on the vacuum, I obviously can't use the technique that I've used for Langstroth boxes. So what I just did was crack open the mesh there so that they can find their own way out at their own pace. Again, no rapid shaking. I'm just letting them come out at their own pace. And I can see down there, you can see a little bit of fanning going on. So I'm pretty confident the queen's in there. I did give it a little squirt of Swarm Commander at the bottom of one of the frames. So I'm just going to leave it be, so to speak, and I'll pop back in an hour or so and see what their progress is, and if there's any left inside the bucket, I'll gently shake those out, close up the lid and leave them to it. By then I'm hoping that the smell will be coming out of the entrance side and that they will recognise that as a way in. It's only a little swarm, so I'm going to have to feed it. But we'll see how we go. This is a short time later. They're just about all out of the basket and out of the bucket. There's only a couple hanging around there. They've crawled their way. They've been scooping up underneath there a bit. I've used a scraper to collect them and pop them in the top. I've put the slats on, and that's the feeder hole in that middle board. So they're fanning around there, so I'm still going to leave them a little bit, and I'll prepare some syrup and put it on for them and see how they go. Hopefully they'll like the place. So far so good. Around at the entrance side, there's been a few investigating. I guess since that up the top is sort of looking like the main pheromone area at the moment, nothing much is coming out of the entrances. There's been a few investigate and go in. There's one having a look. So, because I want to close this up as soon as I can, because we don't have great weather at the moment. It could start raining this afternoon, so I want to get them closed up before that happens. Get some food on with that feeder. So that's where we're at the moment. I'll pop back in the next one to see the syrup on and just see how they go getting used to it by then. It's only about 15 minutes later, and it looks like they've scooted in pretty much. None left in the basket and the bucket. And they've just got these ones doing their fanning, so I've got to scoot those in and pop on the feeder, and then I'll put the syrup in. Let's see, anything happening around the entrance? Not yet. I think once I've closed them up and they figure out where the entrance is, they'll start fanning from there instead. I leave them like this, they're just going to stay there. So I've only got one hand, so I can't show you me doing it, but I'm just going to use my scraper to try and round them up and gently put the feeder on. All done. It was a bit of a job to get them in, and where the middle of the donut is, there's a cavity up there, so I suspect a few of them got caught in there, but even though that's steaming up at the moment, they've discovered the syrup, so they've started. Now we just want to get them finding the entrance, and I'll close up the lid now, and there's going to be a couple floating inside. Close that. Clamp that down. Now I've got this. I'll pull that out. Now the ones inside should be drawn. There's a spider there. The ones inside should be drawn to the light and come out of there. So I'll leave that off for a little while and then I'll close it up. There's only maybe half a dozen inside. There we go. A little bit more happening around the front. They've got to work out that guardian entrance. You see I've got two guardian entrances there. The bottom kept falling out of the other one. I can fix it in, but just haven't had time to do that. It just slips out, so maybe over time the mechanism gets a bit loose. Still haven't decided whether they're a great thing or not. Well, this is about an hour or so after I put the feeder on and closed everything up. And it looks like they've worked out where the entrances are, so I'm happy about that. Doesn't look like they're shooting through. Coming and going, looking good. It's not massively busy, but I'm not really expecting it. They've got that syrup to draw from. With any luck, these guys will start bringing in pollen. Thanks for watching, just a little one. First swarm of the season, because we've been banned for such a long time and now we can. All registered beekeepers are allowed to catch swarms, but as I said, you've got to do an alcohol wash at the site you catch them, and then you're allowed to move them once. So I bring it home to my apiary. In other cases, for brand new beekeepers looking for their first hive, they can either buy them from a commercial beekeeper, or they can catch a swarm or get an experienced beekeeper to help them catch a swarm and relocate them directly to their place, and then they can start off with a swarm. Better than nothing. Anyway, this is Mike from Aussie Mike's Bees, where beekeeping is an obsession. See you next time.